Hey, what's going on, everybody? Justin here at Trumple Reads, and I got my friend Tim here as well. You guys might have seen the other discussion panel video that we did.
We did Brandon Sanderson's Way of Kings.
And, we kind of disagreed a little bit,
Just a little bit
on that
yeah.
one. This one, actually, we have
Yeah.
pretty much the same scores. And what we're going to be reviewing is, of course, I'm not holding the book because I'm a total noob still. We're going to be recording, or doing a discussion panel video on The Eye of the World by Robert Jordan.
The estimable Robert Jordan.
Yes.
King of fantasy in the 90s.
90s, yeah. And this is the first book in the Wheel of Time series. I'm sure you guys already know that. Was it 14 and a half books?
14 and
Prequel.
14-ish. There's a prequel novel, but
I'm not going to hold the book up the whole time, just because, And I thought we'd do something a little bit different. Had him over. He isn't able to come over all the time, so I thought we'd do a cool campfire video. Lighting might not be perfect, but, just something different, a little bit cool.
I hope you all appreciate these special effects that we're putting in here. We don't actually have a campfire. We're still sitting in the same spot.
Yeah, exactly. That's a green screen.
We've just green screen.
And that's the sound
usual
effects.
spot. Yeah, his library is right behind me.
Yeah, I got Courtney there with a flashlight, making little flashy lights. And we got, sound effects going on.
Yeah.
So, we're just practicing out our editing skills. But
that's right. I think it looks pretty good, yeah.
Yeah. Pretty authentic. But, yeah, so don't mind us if we, keep putting, wood on the fire and drink some Midas touch. And we might make some s'mores, too, to make you guys jealous a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Alright, so let's just get started with I was about to say The Way of Kings, with Eye of the World.
Eye of the World.
I'll let you do the introduction. You've read the whole series. Okay, you've read the whole series.
I have read the whole series.
See, look at his fortitude. I have read the first one, and
It does take some fortitude. It is 14 very long, very brick-like novels. Yeah, The Eye of the World. It was the fantasy of the 90s, so far as I know. Everyone,
it seans to have a pretty good cult following, I will say.
Oh, even to this day, yeah, huge. I think, whatever other attributes Brandon Sanderson may or may not have, I think he would probably not have as much notoriety if he hadn't finished the series.
Yeah, probably not.
Robert Jordan.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to even estimate just how much influence Jordan had on the genre. Yeah, I mean, the tributes keep coming in even years after his death. The series was obviously huge. I think they're making it into a TV show now, possibly.
Yeah,
we're not really sure.
Yeah, well, it's in the rights, or someone bought the rights.
Somebody, optioned it. Development hell, probably. But there's always the possibility that we'll get a Game of Thrones-esque TV show out of this.
Well, I guess Eye of the World isn't as sanitized as Way of Kings, but it's still pretty clean fantasy novel.
Yeah, it's traditional fantasy. You can, and in fact, maybe we should start with that. You can see a lot of shades of Tolkien. In fact, sometimes even more than shades of Tolkien.
Okay, Two Rivers is essentially the Shire.
Yeah, the Shire with the population size that is slightly taller than
yeah.
Hobbiton. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, and I mean the Fades are essentially ring wraiths, and the Trollocs are essentially our orcs are different kind of thing. Yeah. So it's definitely working from that tradition, but that's the thing. It kind of has to be regarded as a thing of its time. Coming out of the 70s and 80s, there wasn't a whole lot of fantasy that wasn't Tolkien.
That's true. That was the era of the Tolkien Prestige.
Yeah. We'd gotten to the point where people were at least not doing straight retreads of Lord of the Rings. They weren't publishing their fan fiction anymore. But yeah, but there was still a lot. But there was still a lot of Tolkien in there. I think it really took until the 2000s before that started to change. And now everyone's smart.
Yeah. All right, so I say let's start with characters, because that's always my favorite part of a fantasy novel. I think that's the most important, at least to me. I know some people like the plot and the world building a little bit more, but I personally just go with characterization. So,
yeah.
What are your first thoughts?
My first thoughts on characters? Pretty good. They're definitely working from archetypes in this volume. I don't want to spoil anything for the rest of the series, but they do get more interesting as time goes on, a little more complex.
Oh yeah, and before we get going, there will be spoilers for Eye of the World.
Yeah, all the way through this video. Yeah.
But yeah, so if you haven't read Eye
Riddled
of the
with
World and you don't want spoilers, yeah, definitely don't watch this video. I'll also hopefully soon have just a spoiler-free version of just a brief review of Eye of the World. But yeah, Eye of the World is going to get covered completely in this video, but we won't spoil anything from the rest of the series because I haven't read any of it.
And I will try to keep my mouth shut.
Yeah, I'll hopefully edit
except
him
for some
out.
generalities, maybe. Yeah. So it is true that the series changes a little bit as it goes on, and some characters get a little bit more complex. In this volume, though, it's
yeah, I felt they were kind of tropey.
Yeah.
With a few small twists, but like overall, they were kind of your like bread and butter fantasy characters.
Yeah.
Kind of like the the human like farmer types, and then they become heroes because
Yeah.
of some weird prophecy or some weird calling or the one type trope, I guess.
Yeah, there's a lot of the kind of credulous farm boy thing going on. Where they're innocent and they're naive, and in some ways that's refreshing. But we have seen that before in the Shire folk, and all the pastiches on the Shire folk who followed the 70s and 80s.
Yeah, and I apologize if that smoke like blowing in front of it makes it look like complete garbage.
Yeah.
My editing skills are like minimal, so I might not be able to fix that.
I have actually been altering the trajectory of the digital smoke as we've been talking on the phone.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Yes. Now it's gonna blow right at my face. Who thought this campfire idea was gonna be a good thing? Oh. No, yeah. Hopefully we don't get like completely eaten by black bears or something, because they're like on my yard like all the time.
Well, if we do, we do it for a good cause. What do you think of the main group? I mean, we have a lot of main characters, but
that's true.
Our real mains are the three guys.
Okay,
right?
so we got Rand, then we got Matt, and we also have
Perrin
Perrin the Wolf.
Perrin the Wolf.
All right, let's start with Rand. Yeah, like I said, he's kind of like the trophy farm boy. He's a little bit too good and too humble, I guess, especially at the beginning. Though I will say, as like basically the stakes get higher, I guess, it's kind of refreshing in the sense that he's not like a Mary Sue and that he's overpowered. He's just like, a normal, tough, like, farm kid, basically.
For most of it, yeah.
Yeah, he's not, for most of it.
Yeah.
So we'll get to the ending. And
we'll get to Super Saiyan Rand, yeah.
But, for the most part, he's not, the greatest swordsman who ever lived and blah-de-blah throughout the entire book for, like, no arbitrary reason. He's just, like, Rand al'Thor.
Yeah.
Pretty much the same thing for Matt. Though he was annoying. He was a little whiny bitch pretty much the whole time.
It is kind of funny because I don't think it's too much of a spoiler to say Matt is probably the fan favorite character for the rest of the series. But yeah, he is.
It's really hard to see that, like, reading just the first book. He literally whines about everything, makes really dumb decisions.
Yeah.
And just mopes and complains
about
everything.
Yeah, what should we do in this,
we'll get to that city. We'll get to, like, the plot. Or
Shadar Logoth.
Shadar Logoth, yeah.
Shadar Logoth.
I did like Perrin, though. His, like, kind of little... I mean, I guess they don't have, like, great big arcs in this book. I assume, like, as the series goes on, they're going to get more development and, like, a bigger developmental arc, basically, going on. I did like kind of Perrin's, like, quasi, Wolfman thing going on. I really did enjoy that.
Yeah, that actually brings something up, not to go too far off of our point here, but I think Jordan does a really good job with just the ideas in the book.
Yeah,
he's an idea guy. Yeah, because he has a lot of stuff in this book.
Yeah, there is a lot going on.
Yeah.
Not all of it's like super fleshed out, but I mean with 14 books, he's got time to.
Yeah,
do it.
Jordan.
And some of them are pretty fleshed out pretty well, like the capital city. Cape Nard?
Camelin.
Camelin. Oh, Cape Nard, wrong book.
Yeah.
Camelin.
Yeah, Camelin. It's, yeah, he had a very fertile imagination, I'll say that. He threw a lot at the wall, and some of it stuck, some of it didn't, but it is a testament to the man's imagination.
Well, yeah, I'd rather have someone try a bunch of things and, like, not all of them pan out rather than someone just be, like, really boring the whole time, to be honest.
Jordan does not play it safe. He's gone big and bombastic. He's got magic nuns. He's got samurai. He's got all sorts of wackiness with, fantasy ring racing.
Well, that brings up, like, Moraine.
Moraine, yeah.
Lan, yeah. I was going to say land. Yeah, land.
But
I like the Aes Sedai. Basically, that whole concept of basically women holding like the ultimate magic power and basically suppressing like the male version or the opposing version of their power.
The Aes Sedai are cool, especially when you get into the all the different kind of politicking they do, and there's a lot of fun stuff going on with the Aes Sedai.
Well, and I like she has really awesome magic powers, but it's not inexhaustible. And I did like how there's like the scenes where she's basically giving them like rest and like de-fatiguing them basically from like journeys and stuff, but she can't do that to herself. Like I thought that was a really cool concept, so it makes her like a really like kind of selfless character.
Yeah,
and like that magic in general is really, like really selfless, just in nature.
And while she knows a lot, kind of Gandalf-like, she's also fallible. Again, like Gandalf, she's got that kind of capacity to fail. She's not just this godly character who knows all and tells all.
Yeah, especially like at the end when she fights those like cursed guys.
Yeah, the Forsaken. And they pretty much wreck her.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. Like
she throws like her best, and it's basically we just like walk right through it.
Yeah, she throws them her fastball, but it's not quite a. Their batting average is way too high.
So overall, I think the characters weren't like amazing, but they weren't bad either. They were I think some were slightly above average, but there wasn't any like really just horrible ones like that annoy me like to no end like some books.
Yeah, I think I would say that they're slightly better than average for the Tolkien pastiche. Like you can kind of see where they come from. Like Moiraine is kind of female Gandalf, and Lan is pretty much
Aragorn.
Samurai Aragorn. And then the three main guys are kind of just the hobbits with Pippin tossed out because nobody seems to like Pippin. But apart from that, they're at least got some few quirks. They're characterized pretty well. They're not infallible.
Matt.
Except Matt is a poster child for fallibility in this novel.
Yeah. All right. So that'll bring us to sort of the plot. I think the plot was definitely the weakest major element of the book.
Agreed.
To be honest, basically we start with everyone in Shire Town or Two Rivers.
Oh yes, Hickville.
But after about 75 pages or so, the rest of the book is essentially just a long, just drawn out chase, like running from the bad guys.
Yeah.
And even when they get separated, each of the three different like tangents are all just like running from enemies until they like converge again.
Yeah, and it does feel as though there isn't a through line a lot of the time, as though Jordan was just kind of coming up with these things on the fly.
Yeah.
Because you go to the next town, you encounter the next threat, you go to it's kind of
more as he basically had an end game where he wanted them all to meet. Camelin, and that was basically
and he might
anything in the middle was to sort of whatever he thought was gonna like work.
Exactly. It might have been a pantser. We don't really know, but it does feel like a pantser novel, like someone who is just kind of. It almost feels like a D&D campaign actually. Where,
maybe a little bit. Like the one part that really annoyed me was Matt and Randall Thor get separate. They're kind of like one of their own. They're their own little group, and they're making their way to Camelin. There's literally a couple scenes where they go from one town, then meet. What do those evil guys have in like a specific term?
The Dark Friends.
The Dark Friends, yes, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, the Monster of the Week kind of thing,
Each town they go to has a Dark Friend. They figure it out, escape from them, go to the next town. Oh, there happens to be a Dark Friend there.
Yeah, there's
beat
always
them
a
up
Dark
or
Friend.
talk to them, escape from them. And there's literally 3 of those in a row. 3.
Yeah.
And then they make their way to the main city.
It did become a little much. Also, I will say that Jordan sometimes gets us on to the next plot thread a little clumsily. As far as I remember, I could be forgetting this because it's been years since I read this book, but as far as I remember, isn't it the villain who essentially tells them what he's going to do?
Balthazar?
Balsamon, I think. Yeah.
But I'm terrible with names today.
Yeah. Well, he does have some funky names in this book, but...
Balsamon. Okay, going back to characters, Balsamon is literally the tropiest evil character I think I've ever read, though. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh, you've read Voldemort, though.
Wilmore at least had like nuances with like Tom Riddle, I guess.
I said, yeah, as Riddle he had nuance. As Voldemort, he was pretty much just like, yes, I'm evil for the evils. I'll take over the wizard world.
Okay, Balsamon is, I am basically like a mini version of Satan, and there's fire in my eyes, and that's how evil I am.
Yeah,
look into like the hellfire.
That's true.
Let me curl my mustachio here and tell you
another
exactly
villainous monologue. Yeah.
Let me tell you, you cannot escape me. You are mine.
You are mine. You can't escape me.
But there's like a scene where he's talking about like the hellfire in his eyeball, like he can see it like in his like Solar's eyes, and just that's like literally like the cheesiest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, Balzamon as a bad guy, as a big bad guy, lacks a little bit of nuance. He is a master of the very Lex Luthor-esque villainous monologue, which he seems to deliver with depressing regularity.
And there's really no backstory to him. He's just there being evil.
There is kind of a backstory, but I am prevented from.
Well.
Yeah.
In the first book, there's no backstory.
Exactly.
He's literally. You get like there's like the preview or the what's the word? Prologue scene.
The prologue, yeah.
And it's basically he's evil like then, and he's like super powered evil, and then he's like evil in like the main storyline.
Yeah.
There's no like explanation. He's just evil.
Yes, dragon. Yes, I am evil for the evils.
Yeah.
Yeah. Balzamon. I mean,
even his name, Balzamon, like.
Well, I mean, that's only the least of the references that Jordan is throwing in there. Why is Galahad Gawain's brother in this particular version? Whatever.
Oh, man. Alright, so let's go back to plot a little bit. I do think some of the stuff he literally just throws in there, and there's no reference to it before the book. Like, the Ways, which is like that special, fast travel transport under the world, or under the ground anyways.
Yeah.
No one has ever mentioned this ever, but then all of a sudden, we go to the capital city, and there's, what are the giants called? They have a name too.
Oh, the Ogier.
Ogier. See, that's pretty sad. I can't remember anything. I just read it like a month or two ago.
I read it years ago. I don't know what
there just happens to be an Ogier who knows how to travel through the ways. And what are the ways? Oh, they're just a fast travel way to get.
Yeah, it does feel like stuff that George is just kind of pulling out of the hat. Which in fairness, it's all very exciting enough. Like I didn't ever feel like I wanted to put the book down. It does feel a little convenient.
Yeah.
That we keep on doing these things, and again, it doesn't feel very structured. There's not a big through line. There's not a lot of there are some pacing issues.
It's more of exactly. It's more of how these things are kind of like Deus Ex Machina. Like it has to happen, or otherwise the story's not gonna. It's gonna completely fall apart. Like if it was like minor events, it would have been better. Like for example, on those 3 random towns with the Dark Friends, do something really crazy that you don't reference before, and something like that where it doesn't really matter as much. But then, we're really running out of time in page room. Basically, we need to get to the last scene.
I think my main problem with it, just to crystallize this, is that I think he was going for a kind of episodic Hobbit-like feel, where you go from town to town. There's an adventure in each place, and you're eventually going to get to that one place. Which in this case is Tar-Valon. They're supposedly going to Tar-Valon. They never get to Tar-Valon. It's kind of like having the Hobbit, and they just kind of wander off on their way to the mountain.
Yeah.
It's not that I felt betrayed by the ending of the book or anything that dramatic. It's just that, there's kind of an implicit promise here that this is the structure, and then the structure alters according to Jordan's needs at the time.
Yeah, I will say the ending, the last probably 75 pages or 50 pages or so, is super rushed. I felt
that ending.
Yeah.
Let's just talk about that ending. The first time I read this novel, which was more years ago than I want to admit, frankly, I had no idea what was going on in that ending. I had to read it over, I think, 3 times before I got the idea of what was happening, and even then, it was very rushed.
Yeah. Well, the whole search for the Green Man, they hadn't talked about the Green Man, first of all.
No,
he's just this super being that can help everyone out and help save the world. They find him in 10 pages maybe through the Blight, which is supposed to be this horrible, just the worst place
ever. That actually
ever.
has been hyped up in the book, but yeah.
Yeah, it was, but they go through it in only a couple
doesn't really
pages.
live up to expectations.
Yeah, they do one little escape from those dreadworm things, but it doesn't last very long. Then they find the Green Man, and he helps them out. Green Man dies in 10 seconds because they find the encounter with the
Forsaken.
The Forsaken. I keep wanting to say the Curse, but the Forsaken.
Yeah.
And they just pop out of nowhere, basically.
Yeah.
And
they've
they're
been around the whole time.
And they're super powerful, obviously. Just totally wreck Moraine.
Just a side note, the idea of the Forsaken is kind of cool.
Yeah.
And was, ripped off by a whole bunch of other fantasy authors. They're probably where you're getting the idea of the curse and the this and that.
Probably.
Because, it's just been done so many times now. But Jordan was, as far as I know, kind of the guy who came up with,
That's cool.
the cadre of evil or whatever. But yeah, I mean, the idea of the Forsaken is cool. The ending of the book is rushed. It's just not well paced. Rand's big Super Saiyan moment at the end.
Yeah, that was total garbage. I'm not gonna lie.
It's not well written. Doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, basically, he's the farm boy the whole time, like I was saying, and I actually enjoyed that aspect because he's not super powerful. But then, of course, when he has to fight one of these Forsaken, basically, here's like that sword. Remember? Oh yeah, that sword. Basically, that's the most valuable sword like in existence, basically.
Oh yeah.
That his father just happened to have, but But anyways. Yeah, and then basically turns Super Saiyan with like the Thunderbolt and everything.
Yeah.
And then he finds out he's the male version of the Aes Sedai, which is like a really similar name.
A male channeler, yeah. Well, I don't know if they have
Maybe it wasn't.
Yeah, I think originally they were just male Aes Sedai, and then they all went crazy.
Yeah.
And then.
But yeah, when he basically goes Super Saiyan and just smites that Forsaken in like 1 second.
Yeah, and then he kicks the butt of the big bad. That's another problem. Yeah, like he Rand goes Super Saiyan, becomes Super Rand.
Super Rand.
Yeah.
Randall Thor, like legit Thor.
Legit Thor. He goes full Thor.
Basically.
And, never go full Thor in your first book. And kicks the ass of the main villain.
Well, what makes me nervous is this is the first book, and everyone says he gets more and more and more powerful as time goes on. That makes me a little bit nervous.
Oh, you have no idea.
Because
you have no idea.
Exactly, and that's what makes me nervous. Is I've heard so many things.
Rand al'Thor is. There's a good argument for Rand al'Thor being the most overpowered protagonist ever in a fantasy novel.
And I'm just like, there's 13 more books for him to keep ramping this up because he's got to top each book. Like you can't have like Rand al'Thor go Super Saiyan in one book and then just do nothing. The next one he's got to get like Super Saiyan level 2 or.
Yeah, he's got to go for a Goku progression past this point. Yeah, and it's not quite as bad as that, but yeah, it was a rushed ending. I will say that. Like, it did feel very much like Jordan was just trying to get it out of the way, or maybe that he thought that making things seem to happen faster would lend itself more to a kind of concussive finale. But I don't think it came off quite as intended. But we should move on to our next topic of discussion after character and plot.
Prose. I'd say it's not anything super spectacular, but he's definitely got moments where it reads pretty well. I thought.
I like the prose. Yeah.
It's definitely very tolerable for. Sometimes
it can be a little wordy at times.
Sanderson. Sometimes these really long epic fantasy books really aren't like the most well-written novels, like prose. Just pure.
Yeah.
Prose, but
I think Jordan had a tendency to overwrite just a little bit, so you do have these bits of dialogue in particular that come off a little clunky,
a little stilted.
And
I think he was going for like that, that old-timey feels, basically.
Oh yeah. I think it's the Lord of the Rings kind of sensibility. And there were a few descriptions that maybe rambled on a bit longer than they needed to. But on the whole, I think his prose was pretty good.
For 750 pages or 800 pages or whatever.
It's really hard to maintain that level over that large a stretch of text. So yeah, I think he did a pretty good job overall.
And then the last one is the world building or setting. And normally, that's like the one that's I don't really care too much about, I guess, for world building. But he's definitely got a lot of cool ideas. They're not all fleshed out, like I said, but he's definitely got room with 13 more books to fill everything in.
Yeah.
But I'd rather have cool ideas than just gray, basically.
Yeah. I keep coming back to this point, but Jordan has so much in this novel that there's bound to be something that appeals to you. I think that's a lot of the series' success.
Exactly.
If you don't like Min, the mysterious fortune teller, then you're going to like, Lan, the ranger samurai. If you don't like Moiraine, the magic nun with, the jewels and the this and the that, then you're going to like, the blood of Manetheren living on through countless generations, yabba yabba. It's, just a lot of interesting material, and Jordan's imagination was so fertile that there is just a lot in this for, I think, huge range of readership.
Exactly. So what would you give the book?
I would give it a 3.5 out of 5 as well. Yeah,
Yeah,
I would give it a solid 7 out of 10.
Yeah, look, we agreed on something.
There you go.
Oh man.
Yeah, I think the series gets more interesting as it goes on, and then it does taper off a bit. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the more the argument, from what I understand, is which book it starts to like go downhill quickly.
Yeah.
Is it 5, 6, 7, or 8 essentially?
Yeah, I don't think anyone's going to argue that 9 and 10 were a little lamentable.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep going with the series, see how it goes. I'm not
Yeah.
you know, I'll at least, I'm gonna go with the Great Hunt at least.
The Great Hunt.
I like the whole concept of the Great Hunt too, actually, from the first book, like what it is and stuff. But yeah, just tell me what you guys think. Tell me if you guys like these kind of videos, these long discussion panels.
Yeah.
Also, do you like this kind of setting? I don't know how well it's gonna turn out once
Yeah,
I look
in the winter,
once I like relook at it. But just tell me if you guys like kind of the different settings and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you have any questions or comments, definitely leave them down below.
Yeah.
I'll show Tim them so he can answer them too. He's more knowledgeable about Wheel of Time than I am. But yeah, anything you guys like, just leave them down below.
Yeah,
Just tell me
absolutely.
what you guys think.
Yeah, I hope you enjoyed it.
All right. And whatever you're reading, always remember,
Read victoriously.
Ow.